Hi everybody, welcome to the monthly astrology snapshot. My name is Paula Shaw and I love doing these forecasts to support you guys to have a sense of the bigger context, the bigger patterns that we're moving through, but also to tune into the lunations each month, which is why my snapshots begin at the new moon. Now, the new moon for this month is not a normal new moon. It's actually a solar eclipse. Eclipses happen every 6 months, and yes, they are always intense. And this one is happening in Scorpio, which means we are, as of the 23rd of October, we are in Scorpio season with eclipses. Both the lunations for Scorpio season are eclipses. So, what does this mean? It just literally means that this is a time where transformation is going to be amplified and heightened. We all know that we live in these times of great change. We're living through a time of profound transformation. And, it's like an old paradigm is breaking down and we're not yet in a new world. The new paradigms aren't really clear and we're not completely sure that we're even going to get there yet. So keeping all of that in mind as we move into Scorpio season and as we move towards a new moon solar eclipse, we are being invited to allow a deep internal process to happen. We know that's what's happening collectively. But this new moon eclipse is an opportunity for you to really allow yourself to move with these greater cycles. This eclipses are moments, esoterically speaking, where we can shift out totally old karmic patterns and we can move into completely new patterns in our lives. Like I said before, they come every 6 months. And they are kind of like this making sure we keep growing as a species. It's like this clean out every 6 months, checking in what's working, what's not. So if you're really feeling this, then please go and join my Eclipses Masterclass. It's in my website. You'll find it in the store where you can purchase the recording, or if you're watching on Instagram, you can find it in my link in my bio. But honestly, go and check that out if you're really feeling this, because I really break it down. What are the themes? And you don't need to be into astrology in any really huge, obviously you have to have some kind of interest to be able to get really some benefit from that masterclass and some really, practical, useful tips on how to navigate these times. Plus I really bring in the bigger container, the context that we're all moving through. So by the time we get to this new moon, which is on the 25th of October, all of these themes will be amplified. If you are experiencing the heaviness or big emotions, let them be there, allow it. This new moon has a feeling of being like in the in-between, the liminal space before we get to the full moon total lunar eclipse. So typically new moons are times where we seed in new intentions and set new goals. But I get the feeling, because this new moon eclipse is in Scorpio, which means it's conjunct or bringing in the south node of the moon, which is a point of release, of letting go of the past. This is a time to not necessarily do big magical intention setting. It is more of a time to allow what's been hidden in the shadows to come to light, to, allow the process. Don't try to control it. Don't try to force it. Really harness this moment to take care of your shadow. Maybe some trauma's coming up. I wouldn't ever recommend intentionally diving into old trauma. I feel we're moving into a time where going in and poking around in trauma is not necessarily the best way. I'm not saying we can bypass and not acknowledge it, but digging around, not always the best way. But if you find some of your old shadow trauma stuff coming up, of course, go get some support. But if it's coming up and it's nothing too heavy and major, understand that this is exactly the time that we're living through. Collectively, we're being asked to really look at our relationship to resources. You know, this Scorpio Taurus axis, the last set of eclipses, this set of eclipses, is really focusing on our relationship to power and to our values and the way we are with the earth and resources and what we really truly do value. So please know that whatever you're going through at a personal level is aligned with the greater story, and lean into it. You know, face your fears. Scorpio is the place in the zodiac, it's the place that is symbolic of where our power lies, underneath our fears, underneath our traumatic memories and events. It's where the real essence of who we are can be hidden and trapped, and our life force can be held. So learning to trust these times is a way of you actually harnessing the cycles, and just regardless of the planets and the moon, learning how to be with those places within yourself. So allow it to happen. If you're really wanting to journey deep, then I suggest taking a moment to sit down and write down what is coming up and really notice it. And then if you want to work in ritual, take it to the full moon that's coming up on the 8th of November everywhere in the world in Taurus. It's lunar eclipse. These are the times to burn away and release. But I'll go into that more in a moment. But I just want to point out that we are at the last part of this huge Saturn-Uranus challenging square. This has been, you know, in a pattern that's been playing out for nearly 2 years now. It's a longer than usual cycle. Usually it's a year and a half, but I just get the feeling, or less than a year and a half, I get the feeling that this is reality's way of saying, you can't skip this step. You have to shift it out. So Saturn and Uranus, Saturn represents the old structures, what we're trying to hold on to, tradition, conserve, whereas Uranus is about the future. Uranus is about disseminating the energy and spreading it out, going from vertical top down, which is very Saturn, to more of this horizontal, humanitarian, focused on the collective structures. New structures want to come in, and they have been in this really grinding pattern for so long. It is starting to separate. However, Saturn has just turned direct, and this may feel up until the end of this year as though where the old heavy structures are getting more powerful. So don't be surprised if you feel this oppressive heavy energy. However, Uranus does turn direct in January next year, and the new moon, first new moon of the year, is in Aquarius. There's just a lot that's pointing towards, once Uranus gets going, and it is believed that Uranus is faster, it will win over Saturn, that we will move into a very new phase of what it means to be on Earth. It could be very fast progress, lightning striking, which is connected to Uranus, like flashes of insight, revelations. It might be really liberating, could also have a shadow to it, but I'm going to go into that more. I've been starting to study the big time transits for next year, and I will put together a forecast for 2023 by the end of this year for you guys to look at and prepare for the year ahead. But we're still here, so don't panic if it feels heavy. Another reason why I feel like this is a month to really turn your attention inwards is that Venus is still invisible from the naked eye. She is close to the sun. We can't see her. And as I've shared before, this is when our ancient ancestors and astrologers saw this as a time where we don't have access to Venus's power. And she is ruling relationships, abundance, wealth, joy, everything good about being a human on earth. All the things that make all of the crazy stuff bearable. So she is not visible, and this can feel like relationships aren't feeling connected, under pressure, you're not certain what you want, your partner might not be around, your relationships with family, everybody may be feeling different or absent or not connected. And if that's happening to you, just trust again in these cycles. Go in, build your relationship within, resource yourself internally, and not rely on others externally to fill up yourself. Really go into a deep inner process again, which, you know, if you're feeling that, you're feeling like you don't want to socialize, or, you know, you're just trying to deal with things, I would say trust that process and go with it. The patterns will shift. They always do. Mars will go retrograde on the 30th of October this month, and he will be retrograde until the middle of January. And this isn't a great pattern for humanity. It's not exciting. But again, more of the patterns and the arrows are pointing to turn your attention within. Don't look at the noise out there. I'm sure you're starting to get that right now. You'll see that probably the patterns of anxiety, of fear, of just negativity will amplify over this eclipse cycle. Don't get involved. Honestly, that's my number one tip. Just go in. Now, by the time we get to the full moon total lunar eclipse in Taurus, you may find that some of the things that have been stirring up at the new moon solar eclipse will come to light. Maybe there's a culmination of those things and it becomes really clear. This lunar eclipse is a moment to get really clear on what is not working and to clear away toxic beliefs, toxic stories. And this full moon is also about coming back to what matters and what's truly valuable. Taurus rules our values and the value of things and how we value things. And when you have a total lunar eclipse in Taurus, you can get rid of excess, toxicity. Scorpio rules toxicity. This is your moment to not freak out about what's happening in the world, but to actually go into a personal process of releasing anything that's excessive, whether it's information, food, thoughts, fears, money. Do you really need to buy that extra thing? This isn't about, oh, we've got to freak out and pull back. This is an opportunity to wipe the decks clear and really evolve yourself and shift and really resource yourself in new ways internally. You could have a big shift at a deep psychological level through this time. You could actually come through all of this a more profound human being that's more aligned, where your actions mirror and match your values and your beliefs. You know, really at the full moon, reflect on what it is. Reflect on the toxic relationships, thoughts, spending, whatever. Let it go. And once you've cleared that away, what will be left is what's really important to you. The simplicity, the beauty, the essence, the pure essence of your life. And then you can get in touch with something more magical. So this lunar month may force you to look some of your fears right in the eye. Just do it. Just go for it. Work with the eclipses. With Uranus shifting everything, Venus being in the underworld, Mars turning retrograde. Wow, this is really the perfect time to allow your inner process to transcend your old fears and beliefs, to come back to what is truly valuable to you and what you know really truly matters, and to release all excess and toxicity that stands in the way of your true personal evolution. I wish you well. I'll see you next month. Happy eclipses and so much love to you all.